I don't want to disappoint you, but you might blow up. It's too painful. I hope I can figure that out tonight. Why are we here? Or it's just bad at our jobs. Sorry about that. I would tell you flat out, it's not possible. Being CEO, it's a craft. It's no different than cooking. It's no different than gardening. Where do I think the next amazing revolution is going to come? And this is going to be flat out one of the biggest ones ever. And I'm going to tell you, great athletes and great achievers all have this one characteristic. They have the ability to. One of the things that most people don't do very well is.
这是 NVIDIA 执行长黄仁勋在美国伯克莱大学 MBA 商学院的分享啊，他在美国各家名校分享的影片呢，其实都不应该只给名校的学生看，更应该给所有广大的年轻人都可以看。影片内容呢，它是英文啊，我们加上了中文翻译，讲到了年轻人的成功之路有可能会遇到的困境、心境的转折。如果你其实心里面很想要闯出一片天，但是很害怕放弃现在比较稳定的生活，那你必须要看这一支影片。如果你身边呢有一些家人还是学生，他在为了选科系、选出路烦恼，那你必须要把这支影片分享给他。如果你的工作上面遇到失败，工作上面遇到讨厌的人，或者是你的表现呢不如自己预期啊，感觉自己有开始内耗的倾向，那肯定要看完这支影片。因为这支影片呢，帮助我解决很多我内心的纠结。你看完一定也可以帮助到你。
Our speaker, very well known. We've never had this venue as packed as it is tonight. Jensen founded NVIDIA in 1993. He's served since its inception as president, chief executive officer, and a member of the board of directors. NVIDIA is said to be the world's last computer graphics company to have been founded. He's been named the world's best CEO by Harvard Business Review and Brand Finance, as well as Fortune's Business Person of the Year, and one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people.
I am now, I think, the longest running tech CEO working today. I've been working in tech for 30 years. It's a privilege to do it. You're surrounded by amazing people. In our case, we had the benefit of pioneering a new way of doing computing. This new way of doing computing has solved and is solving some of the world's greatest challenges. We're really pleased to be working in digital biology to climate sciences to artificial intelligence to robotics to video games. It is a rare privilege to be part of a company that isn't just a good business. NVIDIA is a good business for sure, but it's a good business that also makes a great impact on the world. And the work that you do is really important to other people. And so the combination of running a good business and the skills of doing that, I had to learn along the way. A purpose of a company that could make such great impact on the industry and markets around the world and society is a great privilege, and then also to have done something that the world's never done before and do it for the first time. You know, singularly the company that invented this field of computing. It's just incredible fun.
So our first question is on starting NVIDIA. So in the crowd, we have many aspiring tech entrepreneurs that are close in age when you first founded NVIDIA. Can you tell us a bit on how you came to start NVIDIA? What was the spark that led you to start this amazing journey? Do you have some advice for some of the entrepreneurs in the crowd who plan on starting their own journeys one day?
Whatever you do, don't start a graphics company. NVIDIA being the last, I've always said that NVIDIA was the last computer graphics company founded, and that says something about strategy. We were one of 100 computer graphics companies, and also the last one founded. How is it possible that we're the largest in the world today and the only one remaining? There's a strategy study in there somewhere, and that suggests that being first is not necessarily the best. You could argue that being the first 99 isn't the best, and sometimes being last is not necessarily even the worst. The battle between two computer architecture approaches over the course of time, using processors on the one hand, which is general purpose writing software, that does just about anything that runs on a computer versus an acceleration method has gone on for a very long time. And about 30 years ago, Chris and Curtis, the two other founders of NVIDIA, wanted to do something different, and they wanted me to join them. I was really happy with my job, and we had 2 great kids and a great dog, and we had a great family, and so I was perfectly happy doing what we were doing. But they insisted I join them and to do something, and so we, the 3 of us met on a regular basis at Denny's, and then we conceived of what NVIDIA is today, an accelerated computing company, and that was really as simple as the beginning as anything. I don't think that startups need to form out of extraordinary angst or incredible opportunity. We were three good friends, and we remain good friends today. There was an opportunity to work together, and we had to go figure out what to do. And so I think that entrepreneurial approach to solving problems, looking for opportunities, persists to this day. It could be a random Tuesday, and we're trying to think of something new to go do, or something we can do with something that we know, or an opportunity were to arise that we can go take advantage of. And the company is reinventing itself all the time. So this basic method of seeing problems or seeing opportunities, or just happens to be Tuesday, creating something out of nothing is a skill that I think every company or every startup needs to have. We apply that basic method all the time. We don't have to reinvent ourselves during a tough day. We don't have to reinvent ourselves because an opportunity arises. We invent ourselves, because we do. And so just the energy of looking for something new and a new way of doing something is always there. I still remember it was about February or March '93, and it occurred to us we needed money, and the place to go get it is venture capitalists, and the way you do that apparently is to write a business plan. And so I bought a book. I mean, the obvious thing to do is you buy a book. And so I bought a book, and it says How to Write a Business Plan. Now back then, How to Write a Business Plan is not a TikTok video. I wish it was. And it wasn't even a YouTube video, but it was like 490 pages written by Gordon Bell. He wrote a book on how to build a company, how to start a company, and it was like 490 pages or something like that. And if I would have read the whole book, there's no way NVIDIA would be in business today. And so I glanced through it, read, kind of skimmed through it, and tried to write my business plan. The truth be told, NVIDIA never finished the business plan because I never could finish it. And I'm not really even too sure how to finish one today. And so I do remember this. Our VC, Sequoia Capital and Sutter, incredible venture capitalists, they asked for a business plan, and so we put a business plan together. And I could tell you that our forecast was off by so much. There's no way to guess even worse than that. And so we were off by so much. Nobody would have expected the market to be this large. Nobody would have expected our company to have taken so long to have gotten off the ground, and for the CEO to take so long to figure it out. And so all of that stuff was really, really hard to predict. And so your question is probably, why are we here? So I hope I can figure that out tonight. There is a belief that CEOs are extraordinary, amazing, really knowledgeable, really skilled people, and that's just not true. It is not true. We're not incompetent, uninformed, really super lazy people either. I don't want you to think that either. However, I hope the one thing that I convey to you guys today is that in fact you probably have everything you need to be a great CEO, and already. And if there's anything that I inspire you to do tonight, it's just to go do it, but just don't start a graphics company. But what was your question? How did I do it?
It was more like, how did you decide on such a model for NVIDIA?
That question is so loaded, and it's hard to answer. But let me tear it apart. Okay, let me tear it apart. There's a part about what does the company do, what does the company do, and for what reason it does it. That's a really, really hard thing to figure out. And you don't have to figure it out one day, or you have the feelings for it, but you don't know how to put it into words. And the reason for that is because probably 30 years ago, the concept of cloud computing didn't exist. Maybe 30 years ago, nobody would have believed artificial intelligence was possible or accelerated computing was a thing. And so until these words come into existence, it's okay that you don't have the words to describe it, but you need to know what does the company do and for what reason it does it. There's the second part, which is in what environment does this company exist? What kind of environment is it? Is it a nurturing, stable environment? Is it a hostile, volatile, dynamic environment? And because by understanding what environment your company is going to be in, i.e. the industry and the technology that governs it, the fundamental dynamics of the industry, by understanding some of these things, and that's the reason why if you're in the technology industry, having technical sensibility is really important. You can't be ignorant of the fundamental dynamics of the vehicle you're trying to build. You know, the fleet you're trying to build, the ship you're trying to build. And so understanding the fundamental dynamics of the industry is really important. Now, based on those dynamics, it causes you to think about how to architect this machine, this machinery. This machinery is essentially what NVIDIA is. NVIDIA is a machine that builds a bunch of other machines that other people would call products. And so, but it's a machine, and this machine has to be architected in a thoughtful way. That is the fundamental job of the CEO. And then the next part of it is, how do you operate this machine? What are the rules that governs the operations of this machine? Because there will be many conflicting requirements of this machine. And this machine will be dealing with all of those conflicts in a really distributed way, because you can't possibly be governing everything overnight, all by yourself. And so you have to empower amazing people like Renee to be able to do some of these things. And so what are the values that you encode in all of the people that you empowered? What are the principles by which they operate? What are the operating manual, if you will, of this machine? And some people call that culture. Some people say those are procedures and processes and best known methods. There are a lot of ways to describe some of these things, but basically is what is this thing that we're doing? What does it do and for what reason? What is the architecture of the machine and why? And then how do you operate it? In a very large sense, all CEOs have to work those things out. For the vast majority of my computer industry experience, it's been largely governed by Moore's Law. But we knew that Moore's Law was going to run out of steam. And at some point, the type of problems you want to solve are, in our case, the type of problems we want to solve are the ones that either Moore's Law can't solve, or in the time of Moore's Law, it's barely possible. And so we came up with this way of doing something called accelerated computing. Well, our world requires deep invention and a lot of discovery that hasn't been done before, because we're the only company that's done it. And so you don't know exactly what the recipe is. You don't know exactly what the framework's going to be. You don't know exactly how to go do that. And so we architected a company that optimizes for a lot of innovation to happen, optimizes for a lot of agility to happen. So for example, if we discovered, hey, this is a great new path, this is going to work, we could swarm the company towards it. We could shift the company, pivot the company to it. And to be able to do that, you need a company that allows you to do it. And these are some of the things that you'll learn as you operate large companies, is that the CEO needs to create a system that allows the CEO, your will, or the collective will of the organization, to change the course of the company.
And talking about well-run business, one of your favorite books is The Innovator's Dilemma. Hopefully many of you guys have read that book. And the lesson learned that most people got from that book is that a well-run business can't afford to switch to a new approach that ultimately will replace the current business model until it's too late. And you mentioned actually on one of the VC panel at GTC a couple years back that NVIDIA almost went out of business 7 times. Many people probably don't know that you turned the company around over and over and over again. Could you share with us that experience, and perhaps looking forward, what are some of the market indicators are you looking for to continue to time ahead of the market transitions?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the beginning, we were just bad at our jobs, and I just, I don't know how else to say it. The first 5 years of our company, really talented people. Working super hard, but building a company is a new skill. There's nowhere in any books that would properly describe the circumstances that you're going to be in. You're going to learn a lot about both just building with so few resources. Number one, number two, the immense resources of the competition. If your company is $100 million large, and your competitor's $10 billion large, it's possible for them to give away the product to keep you at zero. And so the question is how do you break into an industry that by the time that we showed up was relatively mature, and it's hard to tackle exactly one. At the moment, but I think a lot of it has to do with simultaneously learning how to be a company, learning how to build products, a whole bunch of strangers coming together for the first time, dealing with competition that is really quite immense, trying to build a new product that the customer didn't even realize they wanted, and an ecosystem, an industry that doesn't know how to value the product that you built. There's just the list of issues for our startup is just immense, and I don't know that there's any code to share with you aside from you've just got to get to it, and I think that ignorance was not realizing it was impossible to do. Looking back at NVIDIA, I would say building NVIDIA doesn't make sense. The fact that we would build one of the world's most important computing models, approaches, in the world that we're in, and built up ecosystems all over the world from all of the industries that you've mentioned, and being such a small company still, we're only 28,000 people large, and you know how large the computer industry is, and many of the companies were a fraction of just about anybody's company. It's kind of hard to imagine. It never occurred to me that it wasn't possible when I was at your age. If you asked me to do it today, I would tell you flat out it's not possible. Building the next NVIDIA is just not possible. And for a lot of reasons, I will tell you it's not possible. But at the time, I didn't know that it wasn't possible. And that is your great gift. In a lot of ways, I think you want to stay in that naive state for quite a long time. I don't mean naive and uninformed. I was naive and constantly learning.
So at a manager at your level, your scope cuts across finance, marketing, technology, et cetera, At your level, how do you manage to keep a high-level view of where the company is going, where the industry is going, and also get into the details of like this technology, what innovations you guys need, people strategy, thinking through layoffs or not laying people off, stuff like that. How do you balance your time out so that you have a high-level view, but also like get in the weeds of the work your teams are doing?
All of our best leaders are deep and wide. You don't have to be the deepest, and you don't have to be the widest, but you're deep and wide. And so the only way to do so is, one, to have deep interest in the work of others. You really want to be able to make a difference. You have to have the attitude, and I have the attitude, that if I'm sitting with the finance team, I can make a contribution in finance. If I'm sitting with the legal team, I can make a contribution in legal, our legal activities. If I'm sitting with HR, I can make a contribution with HR, and I'm sitting with the architects, I can make a contribution with the architects, and I'm sitting with our research team, I can make a contribution to our research team. You've got to believe that. You have to strive for that. You can't always necessarily contribute as much as you like, but you really have to strive for that. As a CEO, you just have to strive for that. Now, the best leaders in our company all can do that. They're all quite broad in their understanding of the issues at hand, and that just takes experience. You know, just after you work for a long time, if you stay with the company for a long time, you're going to learn how things work. I don't believe in the 10-year tenure, you know. I believe that you're just barely figuring it out after 10 years. Hopefully they give you another 20, 30 years. And so I think the dedication to the craft matters. Being CEO, being a leader, being an entrepreneur, it's a craft. It's no different than cooking. It's no different than gardening. It's a craft. And you have to decide to dedicate yourself to the craft. And so I don't think there's any easy answer aside from that. But you have to have curiosity. You have deep empathy for other people's work. You have to really I genuinely care for the success of my engineering team, my business team, my marketing team, my HR team, my finance team. I genuinely care for their success. And I genuinely believe that I can bring some perspective to help them today. And so that's the way to do it.
What are some of the opportunities that you experience now that you wish you would have witnessed beforehand that helped shape you become the person you are today?
I can only tell you the great piece of advice I got when I was growing up. Be a doctor. And he's absolutely right. You know, my father was absolutely right. Be a chemical engineer. Because chemistry is always important. That wasn't my path. It wasn't because they were wrong. They're perfectly good careers. It just wasn't my path. And you just got to figure out your path. Where do I think the next amazing revolution is going to come? And this is going to be flat out one of the biggest ones ever. And I'm going to tell you. And there's no question that digital biology is going to be it. For the very first time in our history, in human history, biology has the opportunity to be engineering, not science. When something becomes engineering, not science, it becomes less sporadic and exponentially improving. It can compound on the benefits of the previous years. And every company's contribution, every researcher's contributions compound on each other. For the very first time, we know how to represent biology, understand the language of biology. We can represent the language of chemistry. It's never happened before. And I'm very proud to say that NVIDIA is, you know, at the center of all of that. And we've made it possible for some of this breakthrough to happen. And now we're going to have incredible tools that brings the world of biology, which is very chaotic and random, or not random, but very chaotic and constantly changing and very diverse and complex, obviously, and bring it into the world of computer science. And that is going to be profound. And so if you happen to love this intersection, I think it's going to be rich with opportunities. It's going to be a giant industry.
You mentioned that you have 2 great kids and a great dog and a great wife. You're comfortable with where you work. So I'm wondering, you know, what make you make the final decision to switch? I feel it's very hard, especially when we are already feeling comfortable, you know, make good money, and you had to sacrifice, give up everything else and make a switch. And is it because you truly believe your friends, you know, envision a good team, or you already envision a good technology, or just because of random Tuesday?
I believed in them, and I believed in myself to be able to build something. And now the question is, at the time, do we really had our vision about what we're going to build? Did it really manifest? The answer is not really. But I believed in them, and I believed in myself. I also believe that even though we had a family and our kids were young, they were just 1 and 2. We had a lot of responsibility, and we were young parents, and I could say that could cause us to be quite risk averse. But I was never concerned about being able to do something else if it didn't work out. And so I felt like I wasn't risking anything. And maybe that's too careless by some other standards. But I really believed in it. I believed that we weren't, you know, putting our family in harm's way, and if things don't work out, you know, there'll be an even better job for me somewhere, someday. And we were young. You know, Lori and I were young, and you know, so it wasn't a decision that was so difficult per se. It was probably even a, you know, less than a dinner conversation, and maybe even less than that. You know, and so I think all of you are young and bright, and there's so much opportunity out there. I genuinely don't believe that when you make a decision to start a company or join a startup, frankly, I don't think it's a horrible, horribly difficult life decision. The only thing that really matters is in my estimation, is are you going to love the people that you work with? Are you going to love the work that you're going to do? Are you going to love it so much that all the pain and suffering that's going to come your way, which I promise you will be lots, the pain and suffering and the setbacks and the disappointments, the list of bad days, if you were to pile them all together into one moment for me, like Renee was trying to do earlier, the seven times you almost went out of business, and pile it onto one instance, you might blow up. But don't do that. That's why I didn't answer it. It's too painful, and so you as you know, great athletes and great achievers all have this one characteristic. They have the ability to forget the last moment. That was the last point. That was the last down. That was the last, whatever. That was the last game. The ability to forget, and boy, I got to tell you, I've got incredible ability to forget. And so you just got to let the past be the past, and that helps you with your resilience. And so long as you love the work that you do, you'll be able to keep on carrying on. And that's really it. That's 100% of the wisdom.
Was, in your opinion, your biggest mistake, and how did you overcome it in your business life?
I don't want to disappoint you, but the number of mistakes that I've made is so many that it's hard for me to really say, wow, you're the champion. And the reason for that is right now, as you're asking the question, if you don't make that many mistakes, then one kind of stands out. Do you know what I'm saying? If you make mistakes all the time, you're going to have a hard time picking one out. I'm kind of loving all of them. I love all my children, and they're because when it's a success, it's somebody else's success, but it's a mistake, it's yours. Okay, and so I've made strategy mistakes. However, it led to something really great. I've made execution mistakes. However, I learned more deeply about the craft, which then led me to become a better at managing that. I've made walked away from business I shouldn't have. I've taken business I shouldn't have. So I'm not exactly sure what I learned from either one of those. Okay, and so I think the only thing that I would tell you about that is you have to learn how to estimate opportunity cost. One of the things that most people don't do very well is estimating opportunity cost, only cost. Because when you look at your P&L, it doesn't ever describe opportunity cost. Is that right? Mm-hmm. It only describes the things that you did do and the cost it incurred as a result of that. It turns out most of life is about the things that you could have done, but you didn't have time to do. And when you're the CEO of the company, the company's resources, that's what you manage. And it's really important not to squander that. My fundamental job is to create the conditions by which the company succeeds and do their best work, and selecting projects that are worthy of our company. And that's really about what to choose and what not to choose. And what not to choose is really, really important because we only have 28,000 people. And if you kind of loaded your plate with nothing but salad and fruit at the buffet line, when you walk up to that ribeye and that fried chicken, it's going to be tough. And so okay, that was just a CEO joke. CEO joke.
So
everybody's going, but everybody here is vegetarian.